one of the first things I learned was that we must always acknowledge those who make us feel at home. So, hawa very much. Keel juice hanaraki kaka. My Haida name is Keel juice, and it means born big. And when I was a young girl, I thought they were referring to the little brown Buddha that was born in our family. And I was quite embarrassed about it, you know. I thought, why would you do that to me? But it talks about my mother and my father's families. And both sides of my family are hereditary leaders. And as I'm the oldest woman in our family now, I take my mother's place. We're a matriarchal society, and our inheritance comes to our mothers. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what I've observed on our lands. The picture before you is Haida Gwaii, and those are the islands out there. And of course, that's the center of our world. And the river that you see to the left, that's the river that Enbridge. That Enbridge, I called it a river, it's a canal. That's the area that Enbridge wanted to go into, to go to Kitimat. And the next one to the right is the Skeena, and that's the one that the Eagle Spirit was talking about putting LNG on. And I just want you to see why it's so important for us to have young people like Valine who works to make a difference in our nation. And I really hold her up. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to talk about governance and how we've done it. We've lived on Haida Gwaii since it was neither light or dark. And we've experienced climate change many times. We've lived on the land when the water was 140 meters lower, and we've lived on it when it was 18 meters higher. So we've been there a long time. So this is Haida Gwaii on the right, and it shows you where we're situated on the globe. And the name we have for North America is Ka'adatulgai, and it means the land out there. Okay. So what is governance? Governance is the action of determining what will happen within our territory. And it comes from living on the land since it was both light and dark. And it's experiencing what happens when respect is part of the equation. So we know from our old stories that we can, my father would say to me quite often, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And if you don't do, or if you do what's right, you don't have to worry. But if you do what's wrong, you have to make things right. And that's Kulyakta. It means to make things right or to give balance. And so as we're relearning, because a lot of us were products of residential school, our fathers and mothers went to residential school, we're sewing the blanket back together again and learning these terms and learning our language and learning our customs. When I came home in 1970, and that's what, 45 years ago now? That's a long time. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I belonged. And I didn't know very much about the land because my father wanted us not to have the trouble he had when he spoke his language or our language at residential school. So it's been a healing journey for me to be able to even tell you these stories. Okay, Hawa. So how do you show what is our territory? We show and we control it by being out on the land. We use it on a regular basis, and we protect it. So you know from newspapers and everything that our nation sounds like it's really big. But actually, there's only 5,000 of us who have Haida lineage in the world. And we've managed to go from, at our high point, we were more than 30,000 people to less than 600, and now we're at 5,000. And so what we've done is we've learned from our elders to show up on the land. They told us this. We see it in old papers that they were always concerned about looking after the land. So we have the Haida Gwaii watchmen who show up and are on the land every year. Next. We use our traditional knowledge in everything we try to do. We have a language school, which I alluded to earlier. It goes 5 days a week during the school year. And we have people who are teaching our young people. This is the part that stayed intact, our arts. And they carried the stories with them. So that it was such a blessing that people kept carving and having feasts and things under the guise of Christian holidays and things like that. So that's how we kept the governance part of our world going. Next. So these are the actions, or some of the actions that have happened over the years, starting back in the 1800s, of us trying to protect our land from a colonial system that takes over land. It's like a big, I don't know what you'd call it, but it just gobbles all the time. And so you can see that some parts are highlighted. Those are recent things that we've done. In the 70s is kind of when we woke up and started looking at, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? And how are we going to do it? And the one I'm probably the most proud of, because I was actually part of it, was the 2005 Island Spirit Rising. There were 3 women. We stood out on the road one morning at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and we had our big vests on with the big X on it, and we didn't know if the logging trucks would stop, but we had decided we'd had enough with logging, and we were going to make a change. And we got lots of things that are written in our Council of the Haida Nation site. So if you're interested, you can go into there and you'll see pictures and different things of these different actions that happen within our lands. So next. So we continue to protect our islands by going to court now and doing, working with white man's tools. And I find that our young people are so incredibly brilliant. You know, we've got a constitution. We're a nation, not a society. We have our own laws, and we have annual assemblies where the general populace get to talk about what's happening on our land and how we can change things. We own several companies. We're trying to make inroads so that our people are a little bit more sustainable. Next, please. And we have peace treaties. We have peace treaties that we still honor from back in the 1800s with the different nations around us, because we needed them for travel, for trade, and for safety. Okay, next. So this is our proclamation, and unfortunately I'm too long-winded. So let's, and on the left is it in Haida, On the right is the translation. I'll try and make this available to some people if you're interested. Next, please. So we have our laws, as I stated earlier, and they're to protect our ways of life. Next, please. And we build our laws from our lands. And the words on the left-hand side, the words on the right side are as close as I can get to what they mean. And these are the underpinnings, I would say, of our laws. Making it right, consensus building, respect, responsibility, sharing, and coming together to discuss. And we're all the same, or the interconnectedness through energy, and we all share. My dad used to tell me that in the old days, if one person was hungry, everybody was hungry, because you always looked after each other. Next. So this is just a picture. I never want to speak without honoring, that's my father at the table. And the man without the headdress behind is my uncle. He's my maternal uncle. All those men with the robes on have passed on, but I always like to honor them. Next, please. And we use respectful ways, or we're learning to use respectful ways of looking after our world. Next, please. And so I'm working on a thesis right now to educate our people, and it's about how we can take better care of our world and get away from using diesel. We have the largest carbon footprint per capita in North America, and that's harsh, because there's only 4,500 of us on the island, and we have 2 big diesels, and they use diesel engines to bring the food, the fuel, everything over to our island. So that's one of my dreams, is to leave the world a better place. Next. Did she leave and tell me time's up? So we're trying to make a difference now. We have solar composting toilets in some out areas. We have solar panels, and just lately we put heat exchange into all the seniors' houses, and people who are single parents or disabled. So my village is they learn really fast, and we've got Gordon Planis to thank, because he really stepped up and helped our people learn, and we're very happy about my fuel bill is down, and my hydro bill is half of what it used to be, so again, Hawa, for listening to me. There's lots more I could talk about, God knows, but I want to try and keep us on time. Thank you so very much.